You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you for joining me today on this Total Wellness Tuesday, where the title of the show is, Can You Cheat Death? This is one of the topics that I've been looking to bring you for quite some time. And I talked about this way back when we first started the Cabral Concept on the leading causes of disease. And I gave you my top 10. I'm going to actually make it a top 12 today. And the reason I want to do this is I want to show you, because I honestly believe that the more information you have, the better outlook you can have on your health, the better you're going to do every single day working towards being the healthiest person you can be. Because as you're going to see, the top 3 causes of disease claim half of all human life. And those top 3 causes of disease are all preventable. They're all lifestyle dependent. So as we're going through the show today, and you're actually looking at these different diseases in a different light, because you're seeing, maybe for the very first time, that all of these types of diseases, meaning like all the things, for the most part, 75% of all humans die from, are all lifestyle related. Now, is it more than just eating well and exercising? Yes, that's what I'm going to go through today. That's why I'm not going to make it that simple where like, oh, well, you just need to exercise a little bit more and eat better. Well, that's a huge part to it, as you'll see. But what I want to do is I want to break it down to the science and actually show you that on a yearly basis, okay, how are you doing? You know, what does your check-in look like for that year? So in my practice right now, very simply put, people can come in with 3 different areas, okay, 3 different issues. They'll come in, they either need to lose weight, they either need to get well, or they either need to work on anti-aging. Now, they might want all 3 of those, right? If you're overweight, a lot of times there's a wellness-based issue and you're not aging as well as you'd like to. Of course, I understand that. But here's the deal. You don't move on to the wellness part or the anti-aging part until we help you lose the weight. Now, it does not mean getting you stick thin or anything like that. That's not the goal. Those are specific body transformation goals of a certain subsect of the population. We're talking about we need to help you lose the weight, meaning get within 10 pounds, 15 pounds or so of your ideal body weight, right? It doesn't have to be like down to that last, percentage of body fat, whatever it might be. We need to get you to a healthy weight, which means for 99% of the population, we need to get you within a proper BMI. Check out my podcast on that. Go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and just use the search bar and type in BMI. You'll actually see why that is still a good marker for most of the general population. Now, again, remember way back in my personal training days, we'd say, oh, the BMI doesn't really matter. Well, it does for most of the population, except for, maybe some bodybuilders. And even then, as I get a little bit older, I realize it would count for them as well, which is why a lot of big bodybuilders don't live as long. There's a lot more heart disease, et cetera, et cetera. But let's move away from that. So we need to make sure we get you really between, let's say, a 20 or 19 and a 24 for the BMI scale. All right, so at least you're within your healthy weight. Okay, so after that, once you've lost the weight, if there are still wellness-based issues to work on, because remember, as we're helping you lose the weight, like let's say you do something like the 21-day Dr. Ball detox and you start to then live a healthier lifestyle, because the whole thing is not to just do the 21-day Dr. Ball detox, but it's to learn from it. It's a learning educational process. That's also why I created it. You can start to see the template of the meal plan. Hopefully you continue on with at least your morning smoothie, if not something like the Dr. Ball daily protocol. Okay, you're learning, so then you continue to lose the weight. Now, a lot of times, all of these dis-eases, they just melt away because the body gets healthier. It gets healthier, and it gets healthier every single week that passes. That's the point. That's the goal, okay? And yes, you can still have your favorite foods. You do that once a week or so. Again, let's talk about that. So you're moving to a healthier weight. Now, if there's any wellness-based issues still left, okay, we work on your wellness. Well, what do? If you're able to lab test, we lab test. Why? Because if we lab test, we can see exactly what's going on inside your body. Because remember, it's inside your body. The skin rash might be on the outside. You might feel the headache, right? You might have the rosacea. You might have alopecia. But what we're looking at is what's going on the inside. What are those imbalances? And we can find that out through functional medicine. Again, That's how I started to get well. A lot of people don't know that. Like, I struggled to get well, but the way that I was able to at least move in the right direction, because none of my doctors and specialists had any idea really what was going on with me, is that I started to do functional medicine lab testing. A lot of people don't know this, but the very first lab test I ever ran in functional medicine was the saliva kit that we offer to this day, which is a adrenal hormone lab test. And then I did a food sensitivity test. And then I did a stool test. Like, I did all of the big 5 lab tests that I offer people today. And it's amazing work. And some of those are much more advanced than it was for me 20 years ago, and so that's a great thing. And of course, as tests become more and more advanced, and again, they're still accurate because I do my own double-blind tests on all of them, well, then we continue to offer more advanced tests. Like, we just started off with a toxicity test about 2 years ago, and we'll be offering a new mold test in probably another 3 or 4 months. And so we're always going to keep offering more and more once we see that the actual research results and tests are there and that we can use applicable data. People ask me, why don't you use this lab test? Why don't you use this lab test? And the reason is a lot of times the data isn't as great. It's not written in a very understandable way for our wellness clients and community. And it's just not the best of the best. And we just simply go with, we have no favorite lab. All we do is we go with the best of all sorts of different labs. And I think we use 8 or 9 different lab companies. So very, very, very rarely do we even use 2 labs from the same company. So again, we're very, very stringent in what we use for nutritional supplements, for ingredients, for lab tests, anything. Again, I use this with myself, with my 2 little girls, my wife, my family, my parents, and it's the same things then I'll offer to you. So only what I use. I would never do something that I wouldn't do myself. Okay, so we help people get well. Usually we're lab testing, and then we're working on all the individual imbalances within the body. And again, we can find out what those deficiencies are, and we can replace them first through nutritional supplements and good food, and then eventually weaning off a lot of those nutritional supplements and just maintaining with just some good quality ones, and then getting it through whole food nutrition. Okay, and then after that, once a person's lost the weight, pretty close to their ideal body weight, they've gotten well, then we work on the anti-aging. We start to look at genetics. We look at telomere. We look at their toxicity tests. We look at all these different things. And then, of course, we run their annual blood work to make sure that they're maintaining good health on a yearly basis. That is literally the key to getting well. So if you're a health practitioner, health coach, listen to this. That is how we practice. I'm telling you right now, that is how you help people get well. That is it. I mean, we do it literally every day. If there was a better way, I'd be doing that. I mean, I really would. I have no ties to anything in this industry. I honestly don't. I'm not loyal to anybody, any brands, anything. And I don't say that to be mean to any brands, but my loyalty is to the field of nutrition and health. That is it. And then my loyalty is to our community, right? Because first of all, this is my name. This is who I am. Every single day when I speak on the Cabral concepts, I'm putting myself out there as this is what I believe in. This is what I've seen work over 20 years and 250,000 appointments, right? This is what I know to work. Could it be even better in the future? Yes, absolutely. And I hope so. But what I'm sharing with you today absolutely works. It's what we do in our practice. So if you're a health practitioner, try to follow the formula. Help people lose the weight. Help them get well. Help them then work on anti-aging, and you can follow that formula. And that's why, there's a need for that. And that's why I will be teaching that, as we start this fall. But really, my 2019, I think, will be dedicated to teaching other health practitioners. I believe that because I'm one person, and I have an amazing team of health practitioners as well. We have 9 personal trainers at my studio in Boston. I have 3 nutritionists on staff, dietitian, nutritionist. They also work as our certified health coaches. You'll speak to them probably. Laura, Caitlin, and Julia will be hiring even more. Again, a lot of people who get certified through us this coming fall and into 2019 when we offer our level 2 certification, which will actually be then allowing our health coaches to order labs, for their own customers and clients and patients. Then we'll probably be hiring even more people that we train. Why? Because the community is growing. I mean, people know that this is the way to get well. This is it. This is how you get well. You literally figure it out step by step. You don't give up. What are your deficiencies? What are your toxicities? Rebalance them. There's always a reason why. And the only reason you won't get well is if you stop asking why. That's it. Literally, that is it. If I gave up at any point, okay, I started to get better. Why did I start to get better? Oh, here's why. Okay, I relapsed again. Why did I relapse? Oh, I was doing too much of the exercise. eating way too much protein. Okay, I get it. Okay, I couldn't work on the digestion, and all that heavy weight training was really blowing up my nervous system. Okay, let me ease back a little bit. Let me now try this. And then I was like, oh, okay, it was during finals at school, and I wasn't sleeping as much. I was getting really stressed, and that burnt me out again. Okay, so like you just keep learning from it, and then what do? You adapt, right? You learn from it and say, okay, I'm going to try to do better in the future. You're not going to be perfect, but you try to do better. That is the way that you get better and better every single year. This is literally that Kaizen approach. It's every day getting a little bit better. Okay, I'm turning this into a motivation and mindset Monday. So let's pull back on track. We're going to go over now the 12 leading causes of disease with the top 3, half of all disease. So we're going to mainly focus on these first 3. And there's actually a 4th. This is a hidden cause a lot of people don't know about. And they never list it very trickily here by the U.S. government and CDC and all these agencies. Somehow, they just conveniently leave out number 3, okay? And so I'm going to put that in there for you because, again, my job is to bring you the truth, whether it sometimes hurts feelings or not. Okay, so the number 1 leading cause of disease, most people know this, is cardiovascular disease. It's heart disease, accounting for 25% of all deaths in the United States. These are United States statistics, but they pretty much match up with all industrialized countries. I talk about this in the rain barrel effect, and I go in depth on that. So check out that book as well for the top 10 toxins that really create all of these 12 leading causes of disease. Check that out. Okay, so heart disease, number of deaths per year, 633,842. That is percents of death, 24.1%. I will link up the articles, by the way. So, well, who mainly gets heart disease? Well, definitely more common amongst men. Men do live typically 4 years on average younger or less than women. People who smoke, greater risk. People who are overweight, greater risk. Family of heart disease or heart attacks, greater risk. And went over the age of 55. Okay, so typically heart attacks happening later in life, history of smoking or alcohol, being overweight, diabetes, any of these major health-based issues. I want to repeat these because you're going to hear me say it over and over. And I hope by the end of this, you get so tired of me saying smoking, alcohol, being overweight, which leads to the inflammation, the type 2 diabetes. Okay, why am I going to repeat that over and over? Those are the risk factors, honestly, for all 12 that I give you today. That's it. I mean, like, really? And I need you to understand this because if we can take care of those, we're cheating death. We are literally cheating death by removing the things. Now, it might not be completely. You might have a drink or two, once a week or so. I'm not saying that. You might have your favorite cheat meal. I'm not saying that, or flex meal, we like to call it now, okay? But what you're going to do is you're going to follow my original formula. There's a reason why I gave that in the beginning of the show. If you're overweight right now, okay, I'm not judging you. You can't judge yourself, all right? You have to be fair with yourself. Whatever led to that right now, because it can be a health imbalance, I totally understand that. I work with people every day in my practice where they're like, they're just saying, Dr. Cabral, I'm doing everything right. I'm eating these foods. I'm moving my body, and I can't lose the weight. Every year, I'm gaining about 5 pounds to 10 pounds per year. It's just every year. And there's nothing I can do. I understand that. At that point, we need to move on to the wellness. What is holding you back? What type of hormonal imbalance? What type of adrenal or thyroid or endocrine imbalance is there? What type of autoimmune-based process? Like, what's going on in the body? And we can figure that out. So believe me, I understand where you're coming from, all right? But what we need to do, we need to wipe out heart disease. We really do. And we can do this, okay? We need to lose the weight. We need to stop smoking. We need to stop drinking alcohol on a daily basis or multiple times per week. We really do, okay? Drinking alcohol in your college days and in your 20s, okay. After that, we need to move away from it. We honestly do, because you're creating heart disease during those 20s, right? So we need to stop it so that we can start to repair the body, because it will repair. It will. Your arteries will repair. You will decrease inflammation. You will start to repair the body. The body does repair itself if it's given the proper nutrients, rest, etc., okay? So now let's deal with, what's the family history of heart disease? Well, the family history of heart disease is this. People in your family smoke, drank alcohol, were overweight, etc. But, okay, so again, because it's in your genetics, but remember, the lifestyle leads to those genetics. Now, let's say you don't drink the alcohol, because I work with a few people. They don't really drink the alcohol, maybe once a week. They're not eating poorly, all right? Maybe just that one flex meal a week. They're not smoking. They're not overweight. They still have the high cholesterol. They still have the high homocysteine, and the high CRP. So when they come to me, they have those things. So remember, you might have genetics that lead to higher cholesterol. I have that. That lead to higher homocysteine. I have that. That lead to higher CRP. I have that. Okay. So those are all things that I had at 18 years old. Who at 18 years old has high cholesterol? I did. What about homocysteine? I did. And then what about high CRP? I had that as well. Those are the main three risk factors for heart attacks, for heart disease. So we need to control that. And I've spoken about that on a previous podcast, why you have to check your annual blood lab reviews. And a lot of doctors do not run homocysteine, which is inflammation of the arteries, and they don't run CRP. You need to run those as well in your annual blood work, okay? So just make sure your doctor runs those. Why did I have those? Well, I had low vitamin D levels, okay? I wasn't getting enough B vitamins because I depleted them due to stress. My diet was too high in omega-6s, okay? I ran an omega-3 test. This was later on. I realized that I still wasn't optimal, okay? So the omega-3 test is an amazing test. It's part of my Big 5 lab tests. I got my omega-3 levels in check, okay? That helped right away with my CRP and homocysteine. I added methylated B vitamins back into my nutrition plan. I used the activated B complex, like literally one of those a day. That's it. One at lunch. And then I do my daily nutritional support shit. And again, back then, did I have all these things? No, I had to mix and match it. I had like 50 different supplements, but now it's easier. You can do it in just a couple. All right. And that brought down my homocysteine because the methylfolate and the B12 and even B6 can help with that homocysteine, right? We know that, right? It's a lot of that is just an MTHFR methylation-based issue. And you can run a genetic test to look for that as well, okay? And the high CRP, a lot of times it's depletion of vitamin E. I've spoken about that before. And it's some type of acute-based inflammation, okay? Well, I was also very stressed. So I was able to bring those things down, all right? And then for the cholesterol, family history of low HDL, which is your good cholesterol. I put that in air quotes, even though I'm by myself recording in my office. And so I'm working on that. I'm already exercising, so I can't do that. I'm not going to drink alcohol because I already know that that's not a smart idea for my cholesterol, especially with genetics. And then what I'm doing is I'm doing more olive oil. I'm doing more healthier fats in my diet, eating less meat, which works for me. Again, not every body type, but it works great for me. All of those things rebalance my cholesterol. I still have to watch it. I'm not going to lie to you. I still have to watch my cholesterol. It's very easy for me to have cholesterol of 225. Very, very easy, okay? And it's very easy for my LDL to shoot up. So my maintained cholesterol in the 180s right now. And as long as I keep my homocysteine clean and my CRP good, my cholesterol is good. So I'm very happy about that. And that's what I do. And I eat mainly a plant-based diet. You'll hear me say that over and over today as well. Remember, we were talking about cheating death. You can do this. I'm spending a lot of time on heart disease because I'm explaining all of them right now, but I'm going to wrap it up together at the end because I still am going to keep our time, right? Our time together to our 25 minutes or so. All right. So tips for prevention, you're going to see this across the board. Quit smoking, eating healthier, more fruits and vegetables, exercising at least 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week, maintaining a healthy weight. This is like the Center of Disease Control and the American Medical Association saying this. This isn't even a naturopath saying this, right? This is regular medicine saying this to you. So remember, this is for everyone. All right. Second leading cause of disease is cancer. This is I believe this is the only wild card out of all 12 for the most part. All right. So why am I saying cancer is pretty much the only wild card? Because we are exposed to so much toxicity. I mean, it's ridiculous. I live in the city. My wife and I love living in the city. My two girls love living in the city. Although they always tell us they want to move outside of the city and get a pool, even though they don't understand that we live in New England and you can only use a pool for 3 months of the year. But anyway, they tell us that they do want to move out. The truth is this, I walk by, there's a bus going by me, there's trash trucks, and I love this city. My wife and I are city people, but we are exposed to massive amounts of invisible chemicals on a daily basis. This doesn't even include all the plastics and everything else that we're exposed to. And we use shower filters at home and we use bath filters. If we had our own house, we would have a whole house filter. I mean, we do those things. We use natural oil from moisturizers and natural shampoos and conditioners. We do all of those things, but we're still exposed to massive amounts of toxins in the environment. We live in a dangerous world. We really do. And a lot of that is in the rain barrel effect. Now, do we then try to detoxify? Yes. Literally this week, I'm on my own 7-day Dr. Ball detox. I do a seasonal 7-day detox every single season. That's obviously 4 times per year. And I do that to continue to remove the toxins as much as I can from my body. So how do we prevent cancer? Because I'm telling you, so much better to try to prevent cancer than to fight cancer, okay? So cancer, alcohol and tobacco, right? I've said that, alcohol and tobacco. Radiation exposure, whether it's to EMFs and being around a lot of computers and cell phones and Wi-Fi monitors and all of those things, right? Too much sunlight, like getting burned, right? Sun is good for you, but not getting a burn, right? Chronic inflammation from disease. If you're overweight, cancer goes way up, okay? So really important to check for all those things. And then, of course, genetic factors matter as well. So what do we need to do? Mainly plant-based diet, mainly the Mediterranean diet that I always talking about. Less alcohol, no smoking, stay away from the tanning beds or getting burned. And just make sure you have your screenings every year for melanoma, from skin cancer, for all of those specific things as well. So that's going to account for 22.7% of all diseases and about 595,000. All right. So chronic lower respiratory diseases, about 5.9% of the population. So you see how we jump way down, all right? So what is this? Well, smoking, history of secondhand smoking. Maybe you grew up with parents that smoked in the house. Asthma, and one of the risk factors is hypertension as well that affects the lungs. All right, so what do we need to do? Cut out smoking, right? We need to get away from that smoke. When I was growing up, and when I was in college, it was being banned when I was in college, but it was still there for the beginning. You could actually, I think it was there in the beginning. I can't remember. Definitely when I was 18. You could smoke in bars and you'd be exposed to just massive amounts of smoke. So that's obviously going to affect you as well. And if you have asthma, well, you need to look at gut-based issues, intestinal permeability. You need to look at heavy metals. You need to look at all the toxic exposures that create inflammation of the body that can leave you susceptible to asthma. Okay, I've spoken about this in bioregulatory medicine. Bioregulatory medicine shows us how the inflammation can progress to allergies and then to asthma and then to lung-based issues. So really important. All right, so now for one of those hidden diseases that they don't talk about that is a big killer of Americans, and at least 100,000 to potentially up to 250,000, depending on who you're looking at, is pharmaceutical drugs. Pharmaceutical drugs used as directed kills over 100,000 people a year. Now, this has been said so again, pharmaceutical drugs, this is over a decade ago, $250 billion a year. It's looked at as $1 trillion industry. A book called Our Daily Meds talks about this quite a bit, so Our Daily Meds. But Dr. Mercola, lots of other people that I kind of like when I was much, much younger, college and reading, I was out of college, and reading Dr. Mercola's work and other people's work, they could say it is the leading cause of death is drug interactions or just essentially, because they don't study how the different drugs work together, and just taking pharmaceuticals in general. Now, again, pharmaceuticals can be life-saving, so I'm not saying that you shouldn't use them ever, but what I am saying is that you need to do your best to try to get off of them. And the only way that you can get off of them is to first figure out the underlying root causes of why you have that dis-ease in your body in the first place. So again, you're taking statins for heart-based issues. Well, your body wasn't born without a statin deficiency. You need to figure out why you have that high cholesterol or why you have whatever it is. You have acid reflux? Well, if you take PPIs or proton pump inhibitors or histamine blockers or any of those things, well, here's the deal. You're not going to be able to break down protein as well. That's going to putrefy, acidify in the stomach. It's going to potentially ferment. It's going to cause potentially parasites to get into the system. You need to get off of those. But of course, you can't have acid reflux. So what you need to do is figure out why did the acid reflux? Run an organic acids test. Run a stool test. You'll figure that out, all right? So what I'm saying is pharmaceutical drugs, never talked about, one of the leading causes of death. A lot of people don't know this. Cardiovascular disease, $313 billion spent on cardiovascular disease. Cancer, $89 billion. This is way back in the 2007, 2009 stats. This is from the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. And $96 billion spent for smoking, $116 on diabetes, $80 billion on arthritis, $61 billion on obesity. Can you see how much money we're spending as a country on preventable diseases? Right? Cardiovascular, I told you how preventable that is. What about smoking, diabetes, obesity, all these specific things? Remember, these are things that are possible to get away from. Accidental deaths is number 4 or 5, however you want to look at it on this list. This is mainly in the young, 5.6% of the population, though, 150,000 people basically. Risky jobs is the number 1. Unintentional falls, and then unintentional poisoning. A lot of children, again, like getting into things that they shouldn't be getting into Maybe it's pharmaceuticals, or maybe it's cleaning agents, any of those things. That's why use a natural cleaning agent, use a lot of these natural-based things. But also, I just see people taking risks that they shouldn't. Riding a motorcycle without a helmet? Like, really? Even riding a bicycle now without a helmet? Just put a helmet on. I was just up in Maine last weekend. I see people up on a 3-story roof doing roofing, and they have no safety harness. They're just up on the roof, and they're shingling the house. Like, you really can't attach yourself to a safety harness. One slip, of course, like, you're an experienced person, but one slip, not your fault. You're an expert. You're off that house, and you're dead. These things are risky business, right? Not wearing a seatbelt when you drive. What's the excuse for not wearing a seatbelt? Honestly, you can do these things. So 150,000 people. Some are just completely unavoidable, right? We didn't plan for it to happen. Nobody plans for it to happen. Completely unavoidable. But a lot of them are. All right, so let's get rid of that. That's an easy way to cheat death. If you wear your seatbelt, it's going to be more preventable. Wear a helmet when you're biking. Wear a helmet for whatever you're doing, right? Because all it takes is one fall on the back of your head. All right, again, you're roofing. Put a safety harness on. There's no excuse for dancing around on top of a roof, without a harness on. That stuff really just gets to me. I'm like, what are they thinking? Like, does that guy have kids? Like, what is he thinking? That stuff blows my mind. All right, let's move on. Stroke is number 5. We're going to push aside that pharmaceutical one for a second. We'll just go with the leading causes. They're going to go faster because these are smaller percentages. But a stroke, okay, what are the leading causes to have a stroke? Birth control in women, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, smoking. We talked about this, right? Birth control is birth control. I understand, a lot of women are using this. It makes sense, obviously, from the perspective, not ready to have children. Makes sense. Like, I'm not going to say that, okay? So what are we looking at? Diabetes. Well, again, most diabetes is type 2 diabetes. And if you have type 1, you have to control it. Like, you will control it through nutrition. You will control it through exercise. And yeah, you need to take insulin. Okay, you're going to take insulin. You're going to take whatever you need to. Type 2 diabetes, preventable and reversible in most cases. We know that. That's not me saying this as a naturopath. That's saying this from conventional medicine as well. So we need to exercise. We need to eat better. We need to stop smoking. Again, stop smoking, less alcohol, and let's get the weight back down under control. Alzheimer's disease. I'm not even going to talk about this one. I did a 3-part series on the end of Alzheimer's. All right. Please go back. Go to stephencabral.com/podcast. Type in Alzheimer's. I literally did 90 minutes, 3 30-minute podcasts on Alzheimer's. I believe it is the most in-depth 3 podcasts on Alzheimer's that's really out there for information right now. I gave you all the risk factors. I gave you the labs to run. I gave you what to do to get healthy. Like, I gave it all to you because I know that Alzheimer's does not have to be something that your family has to deal with, even if it's in your genetics, which it is in mine as well, and that you don't have to deal with, okay? So let's just make sure we take care of that. Number 7 is diabetes. I already spoke about this. Exercise, nutrition, eliminating the processed foods, understanding that if you're more of the endomorphic body type, you're going to do especially less of all those sugary-based foods. You're going to ramp up your vegetables. You're going to ramp up your plant-based food. You're going to exercise most days of the week, and you're going to monitor your blood sugar using things like the glucometer. Like, you can get this under control, and of course, you're going to get to your healthy weight. All right, number 8, 2.2% of the population, about 57,000 deaths per year. Influenza, which is the flu, and pneumonia. All right. Here's the deal. Most people, ages, let's say, a year and a half, 2 years old to 70 years old, they're not going to die from the flu. They're probably not going to die from pneumonia. But infants, more susceptible. Elderly, more susceptible. Why? Weakened immune system. Children's immune system, a year old, up to a year old, year and a half years old, 2 years, okay? If they're not nursed by their mother, they're not getting that mother's immunity. So it's even more dangerous, more susceptible if a child is not being breastfed. All right. So again, those are statistics and those are facts. In the elderly, well, the immune system's starting to go downhill a little bit. But again, it can be ramped up. In the elderly, I can see myself, things will change. They'll be very, very different, when I get to 70 years old. But I can tell you right now, vitamin C is not going to go out of style. Neither is elderberry, neither is zinc, neither is all of these different things that I'll be using to boost my immune system as well. And I'll obviously be trying to get more vitamin D and more sun and not hanging out in Boston during the cold months of January and February. I'll tell you right now, 30, 40 years from now, I will be living somewhere warm during those winter weathers. And I will be telling my 2 girls, listen, you come visit for the winter. I'm not living in Boston I'll go back to Boston for the nice months, but I will not be there for January, February, March for sure. All right. So that's what we want to do, right? We want to get that body healthy, get the immune system healthy for sure. Kidney disease, just under 2% of the population. Well, who's at risk? Those who smoke, those who are overweight, high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney infections. Can you reverse diabetes? Yes, mainly for type 2. What about high blood pressure? Yes. What about kidney-based infections? Well, let's figure out why we're getting them in the first place. What about chronic conditions? Well, chronic conditions being like autoimmune or inflammation, all of those things have an underlying root cause, so we can fix that. All right, number 10, suicides. This one's a little different. This is a lot like, let's say cancer, one of those. Those are ones, I wouldn't say it's comparable to cancer, so I want to take that back. Cancer, again, we're being exposed to so many things in the environment. Suicide, we're just looking at it from a different perspective. We're looking at it from a lot of trauma that may have happened early in life, from specific circumstances in our life that sometimes are uncontrollable, right? Unavoidable. But it can also come from a history of alcohol and drug abuse. So I want to look at that. And then I also want to be cognizant of brain injuries. I work with a lot of athletes, okay? With TBIs and traumatic brain injuries and concussions. All of that can lead to more suicide as well. So in this case, although it's about 50,000 people per year, 44,000, I want to make sure that anyone who's ever had or is having suicidal-based thoughts or tendencies to get help on two levels. One, from a counseling-based level, and no, that is not a sign of weakness or anything like that. I think it's amazing people going for therapy and trying to improve their mind as well. And then also find someone who's willing to work with you from a natural-based perspective to work on the other issues that might be going on with your health, okay? Gut-based issues that can also lead to brain-based issues. So what I would like you to do is work on that from both perspectives. All right, number 11 is septicemia, 1.5% of the population. Again, a small amount, but this is bacterial infections in the bloodstream, impaired immune system. Believe it or not, I had septicemia when I was like 8 years old. I got a really bad cut on the playground playing, and I got an infection from whatever the bacteria that got in there, and it started to travel up my leg. I was actually in the emergency room. Luckily, my doctor caught it in time. They saw the red line. They saw the line of infection. And they said, this is insane to even think about. Maybe I had 36 to 48 hours left to live. Like, that was it. I am grateful. And I always talk about that for conventional medicine. So I was able to get in. I was in the hospital for about a week. I was having different transfusions and whatever to get that bacteria out of my body. So again, like very small percent of the population, but about 40,000 people per year. So you have to watch for this with chronic illness, yes, but also any type of infection. You have to make sure that you do get the help that you need, especially if you don't see it healing or you see a red line or redness start to expand from a cut or anything like that, okay? Because I won't go too deep into that. All right, number 12, the last one is chronic liver disease and cirrhosis. Here's the deal with this. Just like pulmonary disease, like lung-based disease is mainly from smoking, liver disease is mainly from alcohol use and abuse. Now, there are other reasons why. There's also like hepatitis C infections. There's other issues, right? There's fatty liver disease, but again, a lot of that's coming from processed food, being overweight, using alcohol. So what we need to look at, and again, I want to drive this point home to end the show, is that I honestly believe that you can cheat death and live another decade or so longer, maybe more. And here's why. 75% of all people die from those 12 things that I just mentioned. Okay, more than 75%, but 75% is that nice even number. So when we look at that, we say, wow, if I exercise more days than not killing myself and just getting my body moving, right? If I exercise more days than not, if I follow a mainly plant-based diet, okay, just look at your plate. Half of it veggies, a quarter of that starch or sprouts or more veggies. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. That's how I know I went too long. And then a quarter protein. Make it vegan protein, make it a fish or make it a chicken or make it whatever you want, right? But then we're just not arguing that much about over how much it is. It's 75% of your plate is basically plant-based, right? So you're getting your berries in there and not at the meals, but you're doing that in your smoothie. If you do that, you're way ahead of the game. You can still have your flex meal once a week, maybe twice a week of whatever foods you would like, okay? You can still drink alcohol, but let's try to keep it to once a week. If we get the weight down, we work on running some of those underlying functional medicine-based tests. You run your annual blood work. You see where you're at. If there's something starting to go wrong, you correct it right away. You don't use your doctor's wait-and-see approach. No, don't do that, okay? If you do that, everything I just named is preventable. And then to get rid, and then just to try to do your best to prevent cancer. Cancer is that wild card. because we could be exposed to this massive pesticide or whatever it is. But if we can do that by doing seasonal detoxes, again, you don't have to do the Dr. Ball detox, but please choose your favorite functional medicine detox, not a cleanse. And again, I love intestinal cleanses and I love juicing, and you should make that a part of your life, right? But I'm talking about a liver detox, a functional medicine detox, like the Dr. Ball detox. If you've never heard of that before, go to drcabraldetox.com. Just read about it. You don't need to purchase it. Just read about it, okay? Because you need to be cleaning your blood. You need to be getting these pesticides out of the body. And by ramping up liver detoxification, it's been proven to do that. If we do that, right, we exercise, we do the things in the rain barrel effect, we get our rest, we exercise, we decrease stress, we're eating mainly plant-based, we're detoxifying the body, we're getting engaged with the community, all of these things, the blue zones, this is it. They already knew. They knew how to live a longer, healthier life. I'm telling you right now, that is the way to cheat death. Please pass this podcast on to anyone you believe it could help. Thank you so much for sharing this mission of mine. Truly appreciate it. Again, thank you so much, and stay tuned for tomorrow's Cabral Concept.
Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.